The following segment is sponsored by LT Gray Silver Corp., trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ELS.V and on the OTCQX as EGRTF. LT Gray Silver Corp. is focused on silver exploration and development in prolific Sonora State, Mexico. Find them on the web at ltgraysilvercorp.com. Join me for a conversation with a frequent guest of the show, David Morgan, the Silver Guru, an expert on money, metals, and mining, also a lecturer and an author. Mr. Morgan has written Get the Skinny on Silver Investing, available on Amazon.com. His website is themorganreport.com. David, welcome back to the program.
Alice, it's always good to be with you.
You made me aware of this article on Bloomberg.com before I could get to it this morning. It's pretty big news. Trusting gold, not Bernanke, as U.S. states promote bullion, with more than 12 states pushing for legislation to accept gold as currency.
Yes, it's big news to me. Basically, a lot of states are waking up to the fact that they have the right to settle in gold or silver or both. Utah was one. It's passed legislation. And if you take time to read the article, it's a pretty short article, what you'll find is that, the Constitution forbids the states from coining money, but it also forbids them from making anything except gold and silver, legal tender, and paying debts, which, of course, always raises the question, and I've thought about this for years, that, if you're paying your property taxes to the state or your municipality, or you're paying some kind of state debt, if you're paying them in a privately constricted script, i.e. a Federal Reserve note, you're not paying them in gold and silver, are you breaking the law? No one's really brought that up. That's a side issue, but it's something to think about, and you know me, Ellis, I love to make people think. One of the things this article brings out, and they're partially correct, is, it's really tough to implement, and that's where I disagree. Because if you're actually taking coins to the marketplace and you're giving someone a 1-ounce silver coin, how do you make change and all that? And from that aspect, yes, it is cumbersome. It is difficult. The price changes day to day. And remember, people, it's not that the coin changes. The coin stays the same. The price changes because the destruction of the dollar ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's worth more, sometimes it's worth less. But that ounce of gold, ounce of silver, half ounce, quarter ounce, whatever it is, that measurement, that weight stays the same. Coming back on point, there's an easy way to implement this, and that is to use a depository and have the depository put in the gold and silver, and then issue a debit card, not a credit card, but a debit card, so it's only backed by the amount of silver or gold or both that you have in the account, and then you use that in daily transactions, and in that case you can get down to a gram of gold or half a gram or 0.0001 gram or whatever it takes to make the transaction transparent to the people accepting the debit card. And this has been implemented. There is a gentleman in Spokane, Washington, that has put together a program with any precious metal. It can be gold, it can be silver, platinum, palladium. You're issued a debit card and it works exactly that way, and it's a wonderful way to implement a return to gold and silver for these states. So I'm involved with that. We had him at the Silver Summit. He heard me a couple years ago, got the idea, and he's the only one to my knowledge that's actually implemented this program. There have been other ones like eGold that kind of crashed and burned. I don't know the details. I don't want to badmouth it, but this is the only one that I'm aware of that's kind of up and running and actually working. So it isn't that hard today in today's electronic world, and believe me, what's the difference in a piece of plastic? I mean, this is the way almost everyone in the States anyway, Canada, I mean, most of the civilized world, quote-unquote civilized, do go about their daily business. So I'm really pumped up about this. I think it just needs a little bit more of a push to implement it in these other states where it can be really used, because the idea is great. It's just that people get the wrong idea that it has to be, coin over the counter, and again, that can be cumbersome.
The question comes to mind about taxing gold and silver transactions. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of the biggest hurdle, so to speak. In the case that I'm referring to, with the debit card, every transaction, of course, is recorded. And so you are logged in at that day and that price and what you paid for your 10 gallons of gas, and if the silver or gold that you used was a profit or a loss to you. So you'll either have a plus or minus next to that transaction, and it's all done for you. You don't have to do anything. You just save those puppies up. We get one each month like any debit card statement, and you circle the pluses and you circle the minuses, and you add them up, and you either got a loss or a gain at the end of the year. Simple, simple, simple. So really, this guy has thought this thing through all the way. I think that this is very important. And of course, as the article says, Ellis, and I know you're aware of it, that some states are just bypassing the state tax on this. But of course, when you're dealing with the feds, that's an entirely different matter. And if you're so required, then, of course, this, again, accounting is taken care of for you. So it's not, again, something that is that big a deal. I mean, answers to some of these questions are really not that difficult. It's just that, just a few people so far, again, from what I know, sat down, thought it through, and said, look, you got the accounting software. All you got to do is look at what the basis is for when you bought the gold, when you bought the silver, and you either got a gain or a loss, or a push in some cases. Let's say it's $30 silver, and you're using it that day, and there's no profit or no loss. That could be the case, probably rarely, but anyway, it's not difficult.
You know what's interesting about this? It makes me glad that we have 50 separate republics or states within the United States. The states weren't really homogenized into a sole federal government with no states' rights. But I don't see a state like California or New York participating in this, do you?
Probably not, but that's the beauty of states' rights, and that was sort of the idea. If you're super bent on, let's say a certain religious belief, and I'll use Utah, and you got a lot of Mormons, you move to Utah. If you've got a certain place where you're a big gambler, you think that, gambling's your thing, and, then you move to Nevada. If you don't want any gambling, you're in a state that doesn't want it. Now, that was sort of the idea that not one size fits all. In the founding idea, we're all created equal, but that doesn't mean we're equally physically. It doesn't mean we all look alike. It doesn't mean we all have the same IQ. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that our rights, our ability to have our own way of living free is protected and given by God and protected by the Constitution as long as we don't infringe on someone else's God-given rights. It's really that simple. So you really just have to live your word and treat others as you want to be treated, and you go on. Now, that doesn't mean that some people don't want, like, say, drug usage or whatever, and there's some that don't. So they kind of filter out into their own little group, so to speak. And I'm libertarian. As far as I'm concerned, I'm really anti-drug. I don't really care for drugs. But you know what? If you do, go for it. It's not my right to tell you what you should do or not do with your free time.
And the state of Washington is saying that you can do that.
Exactly. Precisely. And it's fine with me. For me, they're not. I don't want them for me. That's all I can really decide. I can't say if it's right for John or Joe or Mary or Beth. I don't really care. It's their body. It's their right to choose. I like this idea of more freedom, and that's what this is about.
We'll be right back. The Ellis Martin Report is sponsored by El Tigre Silver Corp, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ELS.V and on the OTCQX as EGRTF. Silver has been considered a precious metal for 6,000 years and currency since 600 BC. It's been commercially mined in Mexico since 1530 in mineral-prolific and mining-friendly Sonora State, where El Tigre Silver Corp's 5,000-meter drill program is now underway. El Tigre's properties with gold and silver mining concessions span approximately 267 square miles. With an attractive share structure and a strong, proven management team, El Tigre Silver Corp is poised to identify a resource in an area that from 1903 to 1938 produced 75 million ounces of silver and 380,000 ounces of gold. Additionally, their tailing stockpile is currently progressing to production. Learn more about El Tigre Silver Corp by visiting their website, eltigresilvercorp.com, or click through El Tigre's logo on the homepage of our website, ellismartinreport.com.
We offer expert opinions only. Find them on our website, ellismartinreport.com. That's ellismartinreport.com.
I think I'd like to learn, and perhaps our audience would like to learn more about this debit card thing backed by gold.
If you're interested in learning more about this debit card situation, just send an email to support@silver-investor.com. That's support, SUPPORT, @silver-investor.com. We'll forward them on to Dale Olmstead. It's Dale Olmstead who started this debit card in Spokane, Washington, and I'm sure he'll be happy to give you some more information.
Are you very involved with him in this project?
Well, I gave him the idea, so to speak, because I was speaking at the Silver Summit 2 years ago, talking about this issue, states' rights and the implementation of gold and silver being used in Utah, and how they're kind of leading because they actually had passed it. Some of these other states have thought about it but haven't moved it through the legislature. And I said, really, the only way I see it working is by a debit card, as I outlined on your show just now. And this guy took the bull by the horns and said, I've got it. I said, oh, come on, because I've been trying. I've worked with others. I worked with some bankers, and just never was able to really get it off the ground. And he did. And so I went down and met with him, and sure enough, signed this non-disclosure agreement so I could read how it's done. It's beautiful in its simplicity. And again, it addresses every issue straight on, and honestly. It addresses the tax issue. It gives you an accounting so that you can do that. It addresses the profit or loss, as I just outlined. It addresses making a transaction very easy for both sides. So all of these issues that come up in this article are addressed, and they all work.
So again, if there are any questions about this, send an email to support@silver-investor.com.
Right, and if you could put in the subject line silver debit card, a gold debit card, or debit card, or something like that, so we can sort them. We get a ton of email, and yes, I do have a pretty good-sized staff, but this may generate more questions than I want to deal with. We will forward them on. Don't expect David Morgan to answer these, but we will forward them on.
David, thanks again for joining us today on the program.
My pleasure, Ellis. Thank you.
I've been speaking with newsletter writer and analyst David Morgan. His website is either themorganreport.com or silver-investor.com. Both addresses will get you there. If you'd like info on what we just spoke about again, email David's crew at support@silver-investor.com. Listen to this segment again on the podcast page of our website, ellismartinreport.com, or find the Ellis Martin Report on iTunes. This segment has been sponsored by LT Gray Silver Corp., trading on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol ELS.V and on the OTCQX as EGRTF. El Tigre Silver Corp is focused on silver exploration and development in prolific Sonora State, Mexico. Find them on the web at eltigresilvercorp.com.